In the darkest hours of a world at war, was the fate of millions hanging precariously in the balance. Allied command faced an impossible choice. Europe lay shackled under the iron fist of the Third Reich, and the time had come to break the chains. The first step, the gateway to liberation, was clear: a massive amphibious invasion. But where? Every general, every strategist, every armchair analyst pointed to the same glaringly obvious target: Sicily. The island was a perfect stepping stone, a dagger aimed at the soft underbelly of Axis-controlled Italy. Its strategic importance was undeniable. Its position on the map, a siren's call to the Allied war machine. But there was a deadly catch. The enemy knew it too. The German High Command, masters of strategic defense, were not fools. They anticipated the move. They had prepared for it with chilling efficiency. Sicily was no longer just an island. It had been transformed into a fortress. Its beaches were laced with mines. Its cliffs bristled with machine gun nests, and its skies were patrolled by the formidable Luftwaffe. Hidden in the rugged hills, seasoned panzer divisions lay in wait, ready to pounce on any invading force and drive them back into the sea. A direct assault would be a massacre, a tidal wave of blood crashing against an unbreachable wall. The cost in human life would be catastrophic, a price so high it could cripple the entire Allied effort and prolong the war indefinitely. A new plan was needed, a plan that was not just clever, but impossible, a plan that would defy logic, that would rewrite the very rules of war. The call went out, not to the generals in their grand command tents, but to a shadowy corner of British intelligence, to the minds who fought their wars not with bullets, but with whispers and lies. In a quiet, smoke-filled room in London, a small group of operatives from Section 17M, the Deception Unit, were tasked with solving this deadly riddle. They were tasked with convincing Adolf Hitler himself to look the other way, to move his powerful legions away from the one place the Allies desperately needed to strike. They had to make the Germans believe a lie so completely that they would ignore the truth staring them in the face. But how do you deceive a paranoid, cunning, and utterly ruthless enemy? How do you plant an idea in the mind of a dictator? The answer, it turned out, was not found in any military textbook. It was lurking in a forgotten memo, a list of outlandish and unorthodox ideas for psychological warfare. Among the dozens of suggestions, one stood out for its sheer, morbid audacity, an idea so grim, so ghoulish, that it had been dismissed as pure fantasy. The suggestion was simple, yet profoundly disturbing: to use a dead body, dressed as an officer, and carrying falsified documents, and let it wash ashore for the enemy to find. It was a plan that walked the razor's edge between genius and insanity, a plan that would require a perfect actor for its leading role. The only problem was, their leading man would have to be dead. The mission, codenamed Operation Mountsmeat, fell to two exceptionally creative intelligence officers, Ewan Montagu, a brilliant barrister and naval intelligence officer, and Charles Cholmondeley, an eccentric and resourceful RAF flight lieutenant. Their first and most macabre task was to find a body. This was not a simple matter of visiting the local morgue. The corpse had to be perfect. It needed to be the body of a man who had died in a way that would be consistent with a plane crash at sea and subsequent drowning, leaving no signs of foul play that a meticulous German pathologist might uncover. Crucially, the man had to be a ghost in life, someone with no family who would come looking for him, no relatives who would raise an alarm or ask inconvenient questions after his disappearance. The search was a grim and silent hunt through the underbelly of London. Finally, they found their man, Glyndwr Michael, a homeless man, a wanderer with no connections, who had tragically died after ingesting rat poison. His lonely death provided the perfect canvas for their elaborate creation. The small amount of poison in his system would be almost impossible to detect after prolonged immersion in salt water. With their unwitting protagonists secured, the real work began. The birth of a ghost. Glyndwr Michael was to be reborn as Captain Acting Major William Martin of the Royal Marine. The name Martin was deliberately chosen for its commonality, a needle in the haystack of British military records that would frustrate any German attempts at verification. Every detail of Major Martin's life was meticulously crafted, each piece a brushstroke in a masterpiece of deception. Montagu and Cholmondeley understood that for the lie to be believed, it had to feel real. It had to have the weight and texture of a genuine life. They became playwrights, and Major Martin was their greatest character. They built his world from the mundane debris of existence. His pockets were not just filled, they were curated. A wallet, carefully aged to look worn and used, contained an identity card, ticket stubs from a recent London theatre show, and a receipt from a jeweler for a diamond engagement ring. A slightly overdrawn bank notice was included, a touch of human imperfection to make him more believable. To breathe life into his fictional heart, a female MI5 clerk was recruited to write a series of passionate, heartfelt love letters from his devoted fiancée. A photograph of a beautiful young woman was slipped into his wallet, her image a silent testament to the life he had supposedly lost. The team even included a stern letter from his father, expressing disapproval of his choice of bride, adding a layer of family drama to the fabricated narrative. These were not just props. They were emotional anchors, designed to make the German intelligence officers, who would eventually find them, feel a connection, a sense of voyeuristic intimacy with the tragic Major Martin. But the true purpose of this phantom life was to carry the crown jewels of the operation. A black attaché case, chained securely to the body's wrist, contained the core of the deception. Inside, nestled amongst official-looking but mundane military correspondence, were the forged letters that would change the course of the war. These documents, penned by high-ranking Allied generals, outlined in convincing detail a fictitious plan to invade Europe through Greece and Sardinia. Sicily was mentioned, but only as a feint, a diversionary tactic to draw German attention away from the real targets. The forgery was flawless. The letters were written on the correct stationery, signed with expertly copied signatures, and even included a loose eyelash, a deliberate piece of carelessness, to suggest the documents had been read hastily before being placed in the case. The level of psychological manipulation was astounding. The entire persona of Major Martin, from his overdraft to his fiancée, was a carefully constructed Trojan horse, built to carry a devastating lie directly into the heart of the enemy's high command. The ghost was ready for his final performance. The challenge now was to deliver their silent messenger. The body of Glyndwr Michael, now the spectre of Major William Martin, was carefully preserved in a specially designed, airtight canister filled with dry ice. The canister was sealed, labeled optical instruments, and loaded onto the submarine HMS Seraph. The crew of the submarine were told they were carrying a top-secret meteorological device. Only the captain and a few trusted officers knew the true, grotesque nature of their cargo. The journey through the submarine-infested waters of the Atlantic was fraught with peril. A chance encounter with a German U-boat could have sent the entire operation and its silent star to the bottom of the ocean. The submarine sailed under a strict vow of secrecy, its crew unaware that they were part of one of the most audacious deceptions in military history. The chosen destination was the coast of Huelva, a small port town in southern Spain. Though officially neutral, Spain was a hotbed of espionage, its government riddled with German sympathizers, and its shores crawling with Abwehr agents. Montagu and Cholmondeley gambled that a British officer found washed ashore would be of immediate and intense interest to the local German spies. They had even researched the tides and currents off the Spanish coast to ensure their Major Martin would wash ashore exactly where he would be most likely to be found by pro-German locals. In the pre-dawn hours of a spring morning, the HMS Seraph surfaced silently in the calm waters off the coast of Spain. The canister was brought on deck. The captain recited a passage from the 39th Psalm, a quiet, somber funeral for a man who had never lived. The canister was opened, and the body of Major Martin, his briefcase still chained to his wrist, was gently committed to the sea. As the submarine slipped back beneath the waves, the waiting began. It was a period of agonizing suspense for the small team back in London. Had it worked? Had the body been found? Or was their creation lost forever to the depths? Its secrets untold. Every day without news was another turn of the screw. The entire success of the Allied invasion of Sicily now rested on the currents of the Atlantic and the curiosity of a Spanish fisherman. Word finally came through a series of coded telegrams. The body had been discovered by a local sardine fisherman. The Spanish authorities had taken possession of it. The British naval attaché in Madrid, a key player in the operation, began a delicate diplomatic dance, formally requesting the return of the body and, more importantly, the confidential documents it was carrying. He feigned immense concern over the lost papers, a performance designed to pique German interest even further. The Spanish, as predicted, obliged both sides. While they officially agreed to return the briefcase to the British, they secretly allowed their German allies to have a look first. German intelligence agents, led by the meticulous spy master Adolf Klaus, were given access to the briefcase. They carefully steamed open the envelopes, photographed every single document, and then painstakingly resealed them. The bait had been taken. The poison pill of misinformation was now making its way through the veins of the Third Reich's intelligence network, destined for the very highest echelons of power. The photograph documents were rushed by courier from Spain to Berlin, straight to the desk of the German High Command. There, they were analyzed with forensic precision. The Germans, known for their thoroughness, cross-referenced every detail. They checked the names, the signatures, the military jargon. Everything seemed authentic. The personal letters, the love notes from Pam, the bank overdraft. It all painted a picture of a real man, a believable officer carrying genuine secrets. The lie was so perfectly wrapped in layers of truth that it became irresistible. The intelligence report landed on the desk of Adolf Hitler, convinced by the authenticity of the find, and with his long-held suspicion that the Allies would strike through the Balkans. He swallowed the deception completely. He declared the documents to be of the utmost importance and ordered a radical shift in his defensive strategy. The consequences were immediate and dramatic. Veteran panzer divisions were rerouted from France to Greece. Entire flotillas of torpedo boats were redeployed to the Aegean Sea. General Rommel himself was sent to Athens to oversee the new defensive preparation. The island of Sardinia was heavily reinforced. All the while, the real target, Sicily, was stripped of its vital defenders. The fortress was being dismantled from within by a ghost. When the Allied fleet, the largest amphibious force ever assembled, appeared on the horizon off the coast of Sicily, the remaining German and Italian defenders were caught completely by surprise. The invasion, codenamed Operation Husky, began. The landings were met with far lighter resistance than anticipated. The beaches that were expected to run red with blood were secured with astonishing speed and minimal casualties. The Allies pushed inland, their advance swift and decisive. For 2 crucial weeks after the invasion began, Hitler and his generals remained convinced that the attack on Sicily was merely the diversion mentioned in Major Martin's letters. They kept their main forces in Greece and Sardinia, waiting for a main assault that would never come. By the time they realized their catastrophic error, it was too late. Sicily had fallen. The gateway to Europe had been kicked open. Operation Mansimite had not just worked. It had been a spectacular success. It saved thousands of Allied lives, shortened the Italian campaign, and contributed directly to the downfall of Mussolini. It was a victory won not by an army, but by an idea. In a quiet cemetery in Huelva, Spain, a gravestone stands as a silent monument to this incredible story. For many years, it bore a single name, William Martin. Decades later, the British government finally declassified the secrets of the operation, and the true identity of the man who played the part was revealed. Today, the inscription on the stone has been amended. It now reads, Glindra Michael served as Major William Martin, RM. It is a final fitting tribute to the homeless man who in death became a war hero, the man who never was, whose phantom existence fooled a dictator and helped to save the world. His story is a powerful reminder that in the grand theater of war, the most potent weapon is not always forged from steel, but from the incredible power of human imagination.